So there's two basic functions or purposes that mindfulness practices serve. And I like to break them down and simplify them to think about why one particular mindfulness-based practice would be useful in a certain context and why another mindfulness-based practice could be useful in a different type of context. And so the first purpose that it can serve is it's a way to achieve mental clarity and do what's most important or effective in the moment. And so many people call this kind of a facilitative skill. It facilitates you using other skills because you have mental clarity in the moment and you're not consumed with being stuck in the past or future. You're not operating on autopilot, so you miss that opportunity to do something effective, or you're not under kind of in stress, high stress, so it's hard to think in a logical, productive manner. So that's the first purpose it serves, and that's to achieve mental clarity so you can actually do what's most effective or important in the moment. The other is just to take the stress off. It's a life de-stressor. And so you don't really need any challenging, difficult situation to really encourage you to use it. It's just like at any moment in life, if you want to kind of hit that relaxation response and kind of restore your body and well-being, engage in a mindfulness-based practices. So we're going to talk about different mindfulness-based practices. Some that help us achieve mental clarity in more difficult situations or stressful situations so we could stay focused on doing what's most effective, as well as mindfulness-based practices that are simply used as life de-stressors. And so let's go ahead and talk about what those practices are. I'm going to discuss 5 specific mindfulness-based practices, and there will be corresponding resources that will delve in further about how to actually carry out each one of these. But for now, we're going to go ahead and describe each one. And those 5 are mindful breathing, which can be used in the moment to achieve mental clarity or as a life distressor. The mindful stop, which is specifically to be used in challenging or difficult situations to achieve that mental clarity and do what's most effective in the moment. Mindful daily routines. How do we turn our daily routines and not simply go on autopilot, but connect to the present moment in a gentle, kind, and intentional way? Mindful eating. We have to eat, but often we do it in a mindless manner. So how do we turn that experience into a mindful moment where we can connect and actually utilize it as a de-stressing moment? And then mindful commute. Most of us commute places, whether it's to work or socialize with others. How do we turn those often stressful moments into moments where we can actually engage in a de-stressor? So the first mindfulness-based practice is mindful breathing. And the best way to think about this is borrowed from Dan Siegel, who is a neuropsychiatrist, really a jack-of-all-trades researcher. And he's developed this idea as breathing is the hub of our awareness. And so if you envision kind of like a wheel or a tire, the hub is the center of that tire. And so the good thing about breathing is it never goes away. It never leaves your side. It's always there with you. If you actually stop breathing, you'd be dead. You wouldn't be here listening to me now. But breathing often operates out of our conscious awareness. So mindfulness, when it's connected to our breathing, can ground us into the present moment and connect us in a way where we're not engaging in past and future thinking, and we can ground it and bring it to the hub, so then we can direct our attention in a purposeful way to other things outside of us. So we can direct it to someone who we're interacting with. We can direct it and focus on the beauty, the things we see or smell in our environment that make it a really enriched, meaningful experience. So breathing is something that can serve as that hub, and from the hub we can go outward to the rim of the wheel using the spokes. And each spoke you can think about representing a different sense or something you would focus your attention on. So I could go, one spoke could be what I see right now. Another spoke could be, what do I hear? Another spoke could be, what am I sensing in the other person in terms of empathy? What is that person thinking or feeling that can give me some perspective? But it's all happening moment by moment. And when you're doing this, you're not simply operating on autopilot, and you're not stuck about thinking about the past or projecting about worry into the future. You're behaving in the moment in an open and kind, gentle manner. There's also more formal meditational practices that involve mindful breathing. Some people actually do meditational sits and simply focus on breathing for numerous hours. And it could be one of the most challenging things to just sit and focus on what's happening inside. What are the full range of thoughts that come to the forefront of your mind? And how can you simply notice and be kind and gentle and intentionally bring yourself back to your breathing? Because if you're like me, when you first try to do this, or if you continue to practice this, you realize how hard it is to tame the mind. The first thing you might do when you focus on the breathing is think about something else, a to-do list or work you have to do or something that's stressing you out. And then you get down on yourself and you find yourself thinking, well, I can't do that. Well, that's just a thought. When you engage in these practices, you simply notice. When you get off track and you're thinking about something else other than the breathing, that's part of it, that you actually were aware and notice it. Now you can bring on purpose your attention back to your breathing. But when we do mindful breathing, it's breathing in a special type of way, a way that's really connected to hitting that relaxation response. And so one example of the type of mindful breathing is we want to get in a posture. It's not laying down to sleep, because it's about falling awake into your awareness and not falling asleep. A lot of people do meditational practices and they actually get comfy and fall asleep. But when we engage in mindfulness, it's actually being fully alert to the present moment about what's happening inside you, that insight. And so we want to get in a comfortable position, but an alert position. Often our spine, we want your kind of butt cheeks to sit somewhere in a resting position. We want our spine not to be rigid and tense, but where it naturally wants to fall. We want our head to be somewhere. We don't want it poking up. We just want it to rest in a natural place. And then what we're going to do is bring our awareness, and you can choose to close your eyes or keep your eyes open, but we're going to bring our awareness to the actual breathing process. And what we're going to try to do is focus on regulating the breathing. So we might envision something like breathing and smelling a flower through our nose. So we'll inhale through our nose. As we inhale, we're going to notice how our belly expands. And then we're going to exhale out of our mouth. And we're going to imagine as if we're blowing, bubbles, or we're trying to blow out a candle. And what we're going to do is just focus on the process of breathing. Notice how do you breathe? And what you're going to realize is the mind's going to want to pop other things in there, and you're going to have to purposefully bring your attention back to the process of breathing. What happens when we purposely do this and we have a kind and gentle attitude and we don't beat ourselves up or judge ourselves to be bad or good or we're just indifferent to this experience. You're not going on autopilot, you're not thinking about stressful things, and you're actually letting your body and your mind hit that restore button. And just like anything else, it's like building a muscle. The more you do this, the stronger you get at it. And this is why people like Richie Davidson, who's a researcher, has demonstrated the brain can actually build itself through purposely doing practices like mindful breathing.